walk through the valley of the shadow of hell, you will realize that there is something ahead. Something that lurks behind the dark veil. A veil that is beyond our own comprehension. Beyond the void.
What's up, guys, and welcome back to
Beyond the Void
Horror Podcast.
That's right, we're back. It's Thursday. And it's like Thanksgiving stuff and stuff.
That's like next week. This is like preemptive.
Well, we're
Thanksgiving
doing.
stuff.
Well, it's next week, but for them, it's technically like the same day.
It's still the week before.
Is it?
Thanksgiving's
Oh, I don't
like
know.
the 23rd.
Yeah. By the way, guys, we might be missing an episode. We'll still have one, but I'm just saying, like, we might miss an episode because it's a little confusing, like the holidays there.
Oh, and we can't record Thursday for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, so we have to like.
When are we? Oh, we gotta figure that.
We'll figure it out. But either way, today
Wednesday.
is a special episode where we're going to be doing our flesh and potatoes segment of
Joker's Wild.
So we're going to be picking two movies. Now, we told you just this Monday what we were doing, and I think we even told you on Thursday. I'm trying to give people heads up a little bit because a couple of people that listen, their schedules are a little bit different, so I'm trying to help people and try to be a little bit better prepared, which is always good anyway, so that if I want to get a head start on it, or you want to get a head start on it, we can.
Yeah, we're trying to not be pieces of shit, basically.
But, so, we're going to be talking today about Funny Man and Slaughter High. So two quirky, funny films. Well, it's up in the air whether you think it's funny or not. Some of the humor in this is in either of these can be up for debate for sure. But why don't we go ahead and just kick this off with our flesh and potatoes, and we're going to do that right now. Okay, guys, we're back. We're going to go ahead and kick it off with Funny Man first. And Brittany did all the major research on this for the most part.
The major, quote unquote.
Well, there's not a lot.
Major research.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, let's take it on down to The Funny Man, which was released in October of 1994 when I was 4 whole years old. It was super awesome. Let me give you a very quick breakdown of the summary or plot or idea or whatever behind this film. When Max Taylor wins the ancestral home of Callum Chase in a game of poker, little does he realize that the game is far from over. One by one, Max's family are murdered by the Funny Man, a demonic jester with a varied and imaginative repertoire of homicidal techniques and an irreverent sense of humor.
Irreverent. That's rich.
Right. Meanwhile, Max's brother is on his way to the mansion with a bunch of hitchhikers who will be lucky to survive the night.
And boy, are they a ragtag
They
group.
are a ragtag fucking group that doesn't even have names. Only one of them is given a name.
It
the rest
seems
of them
like,
are
yeah.
no, only one is given an actual name. The rest are given fucking stupid fucking names. It's like to describe their character.
Psychic Commando.
Psychic Commando is one of them. Yeah, it's absolutely fucking ridiculous. But anyway, so this movie, like I said, was released in the UK
what year?
on October 7th of 1994. It was directed and written by Simon Sprackling, who hasn't done a whole lot of anything. I believe this was actually his only feature film.
Yeah, it was like
that
one
he
of the
did.
first things
He's done a lot of like shorts and
It was actually, he does a lot of behind the scenes footage for like,
documentary-esque
documentary stuff for
style.
like DVD extras.
Right. So he did just examples of some shorts he did was Men in the Street and Breakfast with Sonny Wilkinson.
Which everybody knows that.
Oh, everybody. If you don't know that, you're an asshole. Anyway, so this film stars the fantastic Christopher Lee.
Yeah.
Who, if you don't know who he is, I pity your fucking soul. But he plays Callum Chance.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Column. I think.
Callum Chance.
Yeah, it sounds about right.
Callum Chance, that works for me. Anyways, he's most widely known for his roles, and I'm just going to give you a couple of them. He's in the Lord of the Rings trilogy.
Right.
He's in Sleepy Hollow. He was in a metric fuck ton of the Star Wars films. He was a voice in Corpse Bride, a voice in Alice in Wonderland, and he was also in Dark Shadows. So obviously him and Johnny Depp are very tight. Or not Johnny Depp, but him and Tim Burton are very tight. Probably Johnny Depp too. Who fucking knows? Anyway.
You named off some of the newer stuff.
Newer, right.
Yeah, he's been in like some of the biggest horror movies of all time. Of course, obviously, he was in The Mummy, The Hounds of Baskerville,
Aw.
The Two Faces of Dr. Jekyll. I mean, there's a fuck ton of lists. This man has like one of the largest catalogs. He's in over 280 freaking roles, or at least things that he's done. Horror Castle. He's, I mean, it's just, if I sat here for 10 hours and told you Dr. Terror's House of Horrors, he was even in the original Avengers TV series.
Yeah, he's been around for a really fucking long time. If you don't know who he is, like I said, I pity your fucking soul.
Taste the blood of Dracula.
Yeah, basically.
Scars of Dracula. I mean, Christopher Lee is Count Dracula, pretty much.
Pretty much.
He was in the movie Count Dracula. Anyway, continue.
A lot of the people in this movie were more like TV, film-esque stars. They didn't really do a whole lot of like big motion pictures.
No, he's definitely the biggest.
He's the biggest star of this entire film by far. But just a couple to name a few. I didn't get too in depth because there's, again, a lot of people, but not a lot of important people, pretty much. But this also starred Tim James, who played the funny man, who was also in Men in the Street, which was another short that was directed by Simon Sprackling. He was also in another TV series called Chef, and Mike Bassett, the manager. This also starred Benny Young, who plays Max Taylor, who is a little bit more widely known. He's probably the most popular in comparison to Christopher Lee in this. He was in Chariots of Fire, Out of Africa, Captive, and he was actually in 2 episodes of The Walking Dead.
He's the guy that owns the house, or that wins the match.
He inherits the house.
Yeah.
Right. He's the record executive that inherits the house or wins it from the round of poker.
He totally seemed like the second best actor in the whole movie.
For sure. By far. This also stars Matthew Devitt as Johnny Taylor, who was in a series called Waking Ned Devine, The Honorable Rebel, and Life and Crimes of William Palmer, which was a TV movie.
Okay.
Another like TV series type actor. It's crazy because when you look at him, you feel like you know him from a million different things, but he's not who you think he is. He's just one of those people. And then there's another TV series actress who stars in this, who I wanted to point her out because I loved her, but it was Pauline Black, who plays the Psychic Commando.
Yeah, Psychic Commando.
Psychic Commando is the name
fuck?
that they give her, but she's this like glorious fucking entity that you have, like she's a presence that you can't
What you going down to do?
Even though her...
You try to go down do.
Even though her accent is super fucking racist.
It's really bad.
And terrible.
Yeah, it's really bad.
But she's this like
it's probably better
force.
than I could do, but
yeah, she's a force that you cannot fuck with. But she is a TV series actress. This is the only like major film that she did.
I think she's written books.
Probably. I'm sure
pretty
she's done
sure
a lot
she
with
has.
her like her own shit. But she was in TV series called Shrinks, Hearts and Minds, and Out of the Blue.
Okay, and that's fine.
We don't have a whole lot about this film because there's not a whole lot available on it. But
I did some digging.
can we like what did you think?
Well, first of all, I want to mention that the movie was made on 50,000 pounds.
Right, which is crazy.
That is pretty crazy. Like, it's actually, for the setting that they had it in, and like the whole a lot of the scenes that they did.
Well, yeah. I mean, when you take into account, like, when you see what the budget was for this film and you look at, like, this crazy castle-y mansion that it was, like, filmed in.
Right.
And then you look at these super...
They definitely got some favors.
Hellraiser-esque, like, kill sequences that they do. You're just like, what the fuck? Like, how did you do this on that? They suck some dicks along the way to make this movie. I don't know, but it's absolutely incredible. I was super impressed.
Yeah, I mean, I thought it's okay. So this is a movie that I really wanted to see, and I made Brittany watch because,
and I'm so glad you did.
Yeah, I literally, it's not like it's my favorite movie, but it's just one of those weird movies that I just found one time and took a risk on and bought.
It's excellent.
And I was like, well, what the hell is this? So I'm just gonna get it. So I did, and I don't know, every now and then I'll watch it, and it's ridiculous. It's not exactly funny, though it tries very hard.
It does.
It's more of like a what the fuck entertaining.
Right.
You
Please do not go into this movie thinking that you're going to get this super intellectual horror film out of it, because you're not. This is slapsticky, ridiculous horror comedy, probably close to at its finest. Like, it's fucking but this is like UK British comedy.
Sure.
Horror.
I personally feel like it's got some decent death scenes.
No, it absolutely does.
I feel like it's got some decent death scenes, and it's got some really creative ideas thrown about. The jokes often don't land pretty much at all.
No.
But it's just so damn out there that I kind of like have a hard time to stop watching it.
Right.
Because it's like, it's kind of like watching, this is the best way I could describe it. It's like kind of like watching two drunk guys trip and fall over themselves in a fight, right? Only one of the guys is a crossover of Bugs Bunny, the female Bugs Bunny, sort of like
Lola
vestite version. You know how Bugs Bunny used to do the transvestite thing when he would dress up as a woman?
Right.
The leprechaun and Freddy Krueger, maybe slathered with like a decent amount of practical gore.
No, I completely agree. This is essentially the British Freddy Krueger. Like, Funny
It
Man
is kind of like it.
A British Freddy Krueger. Like, if you really, and I actually like wrote this down specifically, but like if you look at it, he warps his environment to kill people in these inventive ways while treating it like it's a joke.
Right.
So he literally is a British version of Freddy Krueger, just disguised as a jester.
Yeah.
It's the weirdest fucking shit ever, but it's still fucking cool and kind of fresh and new and different. And I don't know, like I went into this just being like, this is just a fucking joke horror movie, like I'm not gonna like it, but I actually ended up fucking loving it at the end.
Really?
It was absolutely fucking ridiculous and over the top and fucking dumb, but
it's nothing you've ever seen.
But it's nothing I've ever seen. Exactly.
Yeah.
So I can't hate it. And the kill scenes were cool.
Right.
And they like snowballed. Like, they started off very simplistic and then they increasingly got better over time.
Okay.
And the coolest thing that I noticed, at least like what I wrote down for this, is that this is almost a perfect definition of like death by irony.
Okay, yeah.
Because almost every single character, every single person that dies in this film dies in a way that's related to their hobbies,
right,
or their
they
ultimate dreams.
Right.
You know, so it's really cool to kind of watch that and see how that progresses.
Yeah, it's almost like Wishmaster in a way.
In a way.
Yeah.
Like, it's very interestingly done. And kind of fresh, a little bit different. They've picked and borrowed from a lot of different pieces, but they've kind of made it their own way.
Right.
But I loved what they did with it. They like I said, they took this whole like death by irony or ironic death kind of situation, and you've got this fucking character who looks exactly like Velma from fucking Scooby-Doo.
Yeah, that's
and they
so
name
weird.
her Thelma Fudd.
Yeah.
Really?
Elmer
and
Fudd.
they don't address it at any point, but if you
so
listen
then
carefully...
there is the fucking... See, I didn't even know that, because the Elmer Fudd, and remember he's standing behind her?
Exactly.
And that's the Bugs Bunny
The references
thing.
are ridiculous, but you have to really pay attention. And like, her name is Thelma Fudd.
Right.
That's her actual... She's the only hitchhiker that has an actual name.
Right.
And she is an avid bird watcher, and that's essentially how she ends up dying in the end, which is hilarious to me. But she's dressed like Velma from Scooby-Doo, but they don't address the fact that she's dressed like Velma, except if you pay attention, the character that plays Johnny calls her Velma.
Right.
He doesn't call her actual name of Thelma, he calls her Velma more than once.
Yeah.
And it's hilarious. Like it's this
totally
whole
her.
like the subtle little slip ups that they do that are really funny that you have to be paying attention to catch. But it was really interesting. So I don't know. I like how they tied that in. You know, like they took all these different dreams or aspirations that these characters had, and they took that and made these like ironic character deaths
because she
for
was
them.
like Blue's Clues stupid.
She was fucking stupid.
Yeah,
But
she's
she's supposed
like,
to be the smart one, and she's a fucking idiot.
right. Yeah, she's like chasing around trying to find a duck.
Yeah, why would you fucking do that?
I don't know.
The whole time I'm like, bitch, please. Who the fuck is gonna go to this crazy ass mansion where obviously some shit's going down, and you're gonna be like, I'm gonna go hunt this duck. It's making these weird noises.
It's so weird. I never even
And
made
it's-
the connection of the Thelma Fudd.
I'm so glad I could like.
But I
bring,
did
like-
say the Bugs Bunny thing.
No, absolutely.
Long before.
But it's cool. Like, I'm glad I could bring something to your attention on that, because
Well, I don't know everything.
I feel like it's very rare that I pick up on something that you don't. So
No. I mean, I just kind of like, I don't know. Like sometimes I don't even think about
no, it's just
until we're actually sitting here.
It was just like this glorious comedic genius moment that I don't think a lot of people picked up on, and like, but I did instantly.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I need to fucking talk about that because that's ridiculous. Like, it all ties back into how she dies, which is one of my favorite fucking scenes. It's cool as fuck.
Right. No, I mean, it makes sense. I mean, there is, like you said, you know, you couldn't find a lot of trivia, and it really was hard to find a lot of trivia in this movie, guys. I mean, essentially, this whole group of people show up at this house, and, you know, they don't pay attention to the warning signs and don't leave when they should. They go chasing after the fucking psychic commando chick, who is a trip. Like,
She's what do they call her? Fucking speedhead or whatever.
oh, yeah, because she was shooting up. He's like,
They
you're going to
think she's
jag off right in public.
Yeah, they think she's shooting up heroin.
He
right?
calls it jagging off, like
Jagging
in
off,
public.
yeah.
Yeah. I was like, ooh, God, that's kind of dark. Like, she's shooting up in the between her fucking, like, if you're making a fist.
between the pinky finger and the.
Oh, no, was it the pinky finger? I thought it was right in the
excuse
middle.
me, I'm sorry, you're right. It's between the
middle finger and the ring finger.
The ring finger.
On her left hand.
Yeah, you're
Anyway,
correct.
the way that everybody sort of slowly unravels and dies is kind of fun. Like, it does push you along, so it's not like, because there's this whole cat and mouse thing, like, you know,
Right.
Like, now that you and I have made the connection of the Bugs Bunny thing, like, it all makes sense now. Like, this is totally like a living cartoon,
It is.
but with gore.
It absolutely is, and it was just it was so fucking cool. Like, I don't know, I really fucking thoroughly enjoyed this movie, and I didn't think I was going to.
I don't love it, but I like it. Like, I don't know how
loved
to
it.
explain it. Like, it's one of those movies I always get, like, a hair up my ass, and I'm like, man, I wonder if anybody's talked about this. And I looked online, and actually quite a few people have talked about Funny
Yeah,
Man.
because it's interesting.
Right.
It's different. It's not. I don't know. I just,
Well, both of these movies that we're talking about, guys, have jesters in them.
It's a jester themed, and
Jesters,
they actually look
jokers.
very similar.
In a lot of
If you really
ways.
pay attention, they look extremely similar.
Typical.
And yeah, I mean, it's your typical like Jester-esque like Joker styling,
Old man
right? Like
thing.
old style, like with the elongated chin and the nose and like, whatever. But I think what I love the most about this film is they went fucking balls to the wall with their kill scenes. They started out slow and low budgety, but then they got fucking real with it. And it was cool. They had some really fucking cool elements, like especially towards the last like 3 kill scenes, like towards the end, maybe 4, where they really stepped it up. Maybe starting with Thelma, like how when they killed her character and they went forward on from that.
Okay.
Glorious. Like, my favorite is the crap puppeteer. I can't even fucking tell you. Like, I lost my shit for that. It was so glorious. Like, it reminds me of oh my fucking God, what is that movie? They tried to be Cannibal Holocaust, Cannibal Pharaoh.
Why do you say
It
that?
reminds me in a way of Cannibal Pharaoh. Like, when, not to get too close into, because we're not discussing our favorite scenes just yet, because this was actually one of my favorites, but
Okay.
that kill scene in particular reminds me a little bit lightly of Cannibal Pharaoh, and we'll get into that when we discuss our favorite scenes, but and I think you'll pick up on what I'm talking about when you think of it a little bit, in a way.
Okay. I
Like,
mean, I'm
not-
open to
it's
the
very
idea.
Loose. It's very loose.
Well,
It's
he
not-
does have a lot of inspiration. Like, I did look into it a little bit, and some of his stuff is very Carpenter based. Like,
Oh, it's so...
but it does, I would never guess that that's Carpenter based.
No.
But he said that he later, like, originally it was like Carpenter stuff, and then as he got older, he actually started to really get into Wes Craven, which is where the
Exactly.
Freddy Krueger thing.
Which, to me, as we've already discussed a bit, this is a British Freddy Krueger. Like, this is so Wes Craven, and I can see John Carpenter elements, but I see Hellraiser elements too.
Right.
You know, like, it's very Clive
It's weird that he
Barker-esque.
chose that Bugs Bunny, though, too, on top of
But
that.
it's silly. Like, that's what I'm saying. Like,
I
that's
guess
what
it's
I love
like-
about it. It makes no fucking sense.
Well, there's some interesting tidbits about this that I'll talk about now since we're kind of talking about it. Like I said, he was inspired by Carpenter. He even, when I was like reading up on this, he said he joked about Funny Man as his way into horror, and it was kind of his. He was like, I haven't worked in 14 years, and
Right.
here I am making a movie, a feature film. He was like, you can do it. He's
Yeah.
like, people try to talk about how hard it is to make movies. It's not hard. That's what he said.
Which this is like his only...
He was like, this is my
film.
intro into horror. I picked it, and I probably wanted to throw all of my favorite nostalgic things when I was growing up as a kid into it. He's like, and it's probably my way out as well. He's like, it's probably the first and last. And this is like, this interview and this extras or whatever was actually when the movie was being made. So
Interesting.
he didn't even know the reception it was going to get
Right.
when he was talking about this. At least that I don't think.
Well, you don't pick up on it.
Right. Did you know that this was actually nominated for a award at Fantasporto 1995 for the International Fantasy Best Film Award?
That's Spanish?
I don't know. Fantasporto? That's the name of it.
So it's like a Spanish film?
I've
award,
never
or
heard
what?
of that actually, but I don't really follow film festivals that much because I don't have
There's-
the
and
time or
there's
the
a
money.
million of them.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I wish I did, but, you know, I wish I had access to these things. And maybe one day when we get into it.
I can see that because I get surprised by a lot of the films that we review that have been nominated or won.
Right.
Like these crazy awards. And I'm just like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Did you know in the movie there is when the psychic commando chick goes down to the funny man's world, there's a sign and it says Sod's Law, population 1. Right. Sod's Law is technically it's like an Irish or a British saying that's like hope for the best, expect the worst.
Which makes perfect sense when you consider where they are.
Yeah, it's technically saying Sod's Law is expecting, hoping for the best, but expecting the worst at the worst possible time.
It's like Murphy's Law.
Kind of, yeah. It's like their own version of this.
And it's British way.
I've never heard of Sod's Law before, but I guess that's what it stands for. I had to look it up because I was like
Which makes sense.
curious about it. I was like, that's got to mean something.
No, I thought the same thing. I was like, what is this? They keep showing this sign.
Another really weird thing is that they did for this movie is something they used to do in the 80s. So this is kind of a throwback to the 80s in a way because they did like a Funny Man song.
Oh, I know.
The Funny Man.
Funny Man.
He's the Funny Man.
It's glorious.
He'll find and I believe Christopher Lee actually sang in the end. I couldn't find that anywhere. But it sounded like Christopher Lee's voice, plus Tim James, who was the Funny Man, talking about, like he's talking to the theater.
Right.
Like they've done that in like the movies like Scrooged.
Yeah.
Or whatever, where he's like, you in the back, now just the men on the left and the men on the right. He's kind of doing that thing.
Third person narrative or whatever.
Right.
It is,
Just to kind of like involve the movie.
the audience.
The
right?
audience.
It's like it's almost like it's in a theater production versus
right.
a movie.
Which is really awesome,
Yeah,
but
they
I
do
don't
that
think many
breakaway.
of the audience was left.
No.
I'm sorry, but it's probably true.
I mean, I'd stay to the end if I went to theatrically see this shit unfold like Hamilton in front of me. I would be like, fuck yeah.
Well,
Let's do this weird shit. Like, that's
right.
cool. But most people, no.
Well, there's an interesting little story tidbit. Director Simon Sprackling said that a lot of people that had asked him, and this is a pretty obvious question, because first of all, when you see this movie, they did a lot with the money. It's not that it's like a bad movie. They spent the money well.
They did.
The script was a little weird, and the writing was really weird, but they did really good for the money that they got, or that they had. But a lot of people would ask the director, how he got Christopher Lee. Like, how the fuck did you get Christopher Lee?
For real.
And it's like, and it is a really good question because
great question.
if you think of the breadth of talent that Christopher Lee has surrounded himself with in the movie industry, you think to yourself, why the fuck would he want to be attached to this film?
Right.
Especially since Christopher Lee hadn't done a horror film in 22 years before this. So, Sprackling, the director, he said that he was like, I don't know why everybody was like wondering how that's happened. He was like, all I did is called his agent.
Set it up.
Met up with him for tea. He read the script. He said he liked it. And he left me with a 7-pound bill. And that was it.
We met up for high tea.
Yeah.
With Christopher Lee.
Yeah. He just had tea and they left him with the bill and said, I'm out.
Like, let me fucking tell you, Simon, why everybody's confused.
But yeah, I mean,
we're all fucking perplexed how you got fucking Lord of the Rings fucking shenanigans.
dude,
Guru,
Lord of the Rings is the lower one on his totem pole.
which is
in my opinion,
to say, but
I mean,
as far as his repertoire of like horror movies that he's done over the last decade,
I would say that he's more known for other stuff. I mean, yes, Lord of the Rings obviously is a good movie. He probably got paid really well for it.
Like,
I'm just saying, like, but most people would recognize Christopher Lee for many of his earlier films,
right?
Because these are like the horror greats.
Correct.
But it is interesting that he decided to do this movie. 22 years he hadn't done a horror movie, and this is the one
That's
that he
the one
chose.
he picks,
right?
Yeah, I mean, come on.
Christopher Lee did talk about it though. He said he would actually only do one if he found a script that was original enough that, you know, and he said he saw the young, passionate enthusiasm from the cast and the crew and everything, and he really loved the enthusiasm from the group. He really likes supporting British film. He feels like British film kind of like just at the time in the 90s here, they weren't really pushing things. They were too formulaic and they were making too many British films instead of trying to make an international picture, which this movie he felt would be more international that people would get. Although I will say, guys, if you're not paying close attention, there is a lot of slang in this movie.
It's a very British film.
Yeah, like you really, because it's like a northern British accent, and you might need to kind of follow up on it. It might even be closer to Irish a little bit. The funny man, he's definitely northern English.
It's a very British film, plain and simple. Like that's what it is.
But yeah, he just loved it. He said that he loved the fact that you can tell that these guys were so passionate that they had worked their way up from the bottom to get to where they were, and so he wanted to help them out. I thought that was really cool.
That's excellent. Good for him.
I mean, it's probably not the wisest choice he made,
well,
but it didn't affect his career.
Is he wrong?
No, he's just throwing a bone.
Because this was a very unique idea, especially at the time. This is something that hasn't really been touched on or done, especially in that way.
Right.
Like, sure, it's kind of similar to a bunch of different U.S. movies that were done at the time, but were they exposed to that necessarily when he wrote this? Probably not. And the producer who made this movie, Nigel Odell, I think this is. Yeah, Nigel Odell. He definitely wanted, part of the reason that he wanted to do a movie is because he felt like if he got a younger cast, other than Christopher Lee, right,
who was a veteran, obviously.
He was a young buck of like 64 at the time.
He was like, if we get a younger cast, they're more enthusiastic, they're more eager to make a good picture. So he wanted to do that. And obviously that shined through to Christopher Lee, which some people, I was reading other people's like reviews and hearing what the disdain they had that Christopher Lee attached himself to this movie, which is like, it's like whatever, it's his choice. Like, are you gonna hate him because he made a choice to help somebody else? He was just throwing somebody a bone. That's the way I look at it.
Are you his agent? No. Did he get paid for this?
I mean,
yes.
I totally agree with him. He shouldn't have probably done it, but it's
Why
cool.
not?
I think it's really cool that he did.
Every fucking person that we look up to in every aspect of every fucking movie that we love, whether it's horror or not, every fucking actor has done a film that's regrettable to your opinion or to my opinion or even to their opinion. So who fucking cares what they do?
Oh, I'm not.
No, I'm not talking about you. I'm just talking about
know.
people who look into that and they judge that kind of like decision, who look at him and go, why would you want your name to be attached to a film like this? Why would you not?
Well, everybody has an opinion, right? And
do.
nobody wants to hear somebody that's always like...
It's like what they say, right?
Well, I don't know. I just try to be more understanding. It's like I always think back to when fucking Kyle from the Laughing Horror Podcast and
Kyle,
and also one of our writers for part of the BTV family here, Kyle was like, "You're really kind of like changed since you started, right?" And I'm like, "Have I?" Because I don't think I have. I think I've always been more understanding. Because in my mind, I think to myself, like, this Funny Man movie, it could be some kid's favorite movie in the world. So I try to look
Right.
at it from a perspective of like, hey, somebody really likes this movie. I own the movie, so it's not so bad.
I don't want to completely shit on it.
Right. And it's not that I wouldn't shit on a movie. There's movies that I will probably shit on.
Oh, there's plenty that I have shit right
The
over.
Witch is one that everybody hates me for, and I always bring that up because that's the one.
But I can't shit on this movie because it's not shit on worthy.
Well, and I think Tim James did a good job.
He's excellent.
I think he could have probably been directed a little bit better.
Right, but he's
Sometimes
still
he
great.
kind of said stuff under his breath, and that could have just been bad miking or whatever, but it was like kind of hard to hear him a little bit.
No, you're not wrong. You're
But-
not wrong in any aspect of this, but there are a million fucking worse movies than this.
I thought
and there's a million worse movies that are
Oh, yeah.
well more received than this film that people love.
Yeah.
That I fucking hate. That I would rather watch this than that any fucking day of the week. So, I mean, I could get in a fucking argument about a million other fucking movies in comparison to this and be like, this is why this is better and this is why you're wrong. So, that's how I feel about it. I don't know. Like, I'm super, super excited that you suggested this because I really liked it.
Good.
I enjoyed it way more than I thought I was going to. So,
Well, and you know, one last bit of trivia that I wanted to mention before we get into our favorite scenes is that Tim James actually went to acting school for like 3 years, and then he dropped out to go to do landscaping because he thought, well, that's like.
I'm going to be a gardener.
Well, he was like that. I need to make money, and that's what I got to do, right? Because like the acting thing, he thought was like a joke. He's not really done much else than that, but he did start a children's theater. And then he worked on this. Mm-hmm. So I thought that was kind of cool that he did a children's theater.
That is cool.
But he is a little risque in this movie, so it's like...
He's got the most, like, ridiculous codpiece, like, literally ever.
Right. Well, it looks like the punch doll.
It's great.
Like, yeah, like a half
Punch
moon
and
or whatever.
Judy.
Yeah. The punch doll.
Which
Yeah,
leads into
that was
my
so weird, the
favorite
fleshy
scene.
dolls.
I love that scene.
Well, let's talk about some of our favorite scenes.
So, can I talk about mine first? Do you want to talk
Go
about?
ahead.
Oh wait, no, I talked
just
about the movie.
go
So you go
chronological
first.
order.
No, I talked about my. I talked about this. So you go first with your favorite scene.
Obviously, Velma gets shot in the head.
Okay,
Probably one of the coolest scenes.
it's excellent.
He sneaks up behind her
And
like
it's
Elmer
Thelma.
Fudd.
Thelma,
But
not
yeah,
Velma.
he sneaks up behind her with Elmer Fudd. Or Elmer
Elmer
Fudd.
Fudd.
God damn it. And then he's like, has this big, like, what do you call those, like, shotguns that have the big busters? Blunderbuster? Yeah.
Sure.
It was like a shotgun blunderbuster with just like, and it's like ridiculously like Bugs Bunny.
It's stupid.
It totally is. She's like leaning left and he aims the other way and he's like, damn it. And then she moves right and then he moves to the right or to the left and they're missing each other until her attention gets swayed by the guy who's riding around on a cart who won the house.
Max. Yeah.
Yeah, but by the way, this whole fucking thing starts when his little kid spins the win or lose spindle thing. And so technically you can win great fortune if it want to land it on win. He would have been like gotten everything that he ever wanted in his dreams, but it landed on lose. And so this
Yeah, so the jester like comes out of the fucking attic ground like Hellraiser.
right.
And he's just like, "Blah."
That was pretty cool too.
Fucking awesome. Like he just spews out of this fucking the ground of this attic, right? Like literally Hellraiser-esque style. Oh god, I don't know what I just hit. But anyway, it's gorgeous. Like he's like being birthed from the floor, but it's like I don't know. It's fucking cool.
I don't know. I just wanted to fill people in on that so they could follow
You
along.
need to know. Like this is important.
But everything gets really psychedelic and crazy and weird and trippy
Yeah.
and shit. And
Each death progressively gets fucking weirder.
it's almost like the funny man doesn't even kill him. He just toys with him the whole fucking time. But he passes by Thelma and AKA Velma Fudd, whatever. But he puts the blunderbuster against the back of her head and shoots it. And you see her the front of her face pop out. And her eyes and her brain go shooting across like
Her
a screen.
glasses.
Yeah, and her glasses. And just fall on the ground. And that's it. Like
it's excellent.
it's pretty cool though. Like the gore was pretty cool. Like they
gore
did a
was
really good
decent.
job.
Yeah, it was fucking hilarious. Like I don't know, it was just cool. I
What
laughed
about
so
a
fucking
scene with
hard.
you?
So my favorite scene was with the crap puppeteer, who if you watch the movie, your first introductory to him is where he's doing the what's the fucking name of the male Punch and Judy. He's doing the Punch and Judy puppeteer show like in the back of the bus, right?
Right, okay.
And that's his name, His name is Crap Puppeteer, right? That's his
Okay,
character
yeah.
name, which is ridiculous.
He gets his
So-
head stuck in the wall first, though, right?
He somehow gets transported into this like weird parallel universe thing, right? So he flies in head first with his hands to like brace his fall. So his hands go through the wall first, but then just the top part of his head from his eyes.
No, his nose, just like
from,
under
like,
his nose.
Under the bridge of his nose
Yeah.
and eyes up
Yeah.
is what goes across. And it's like on this beach in like, it's not Florida, but it
Just a
reminds
beach.
me of that. It's a beach. They have beaches in the United Kingdom, so that's where it is. It's a beach in the fucking UK somewhere.
Sure.
So he's doing this weird puppet show.
Well,
He ends up doing-
first of all, to explain it a little bit better, is his head pops up into a puppet tent thing.
Right.
Where people would do puppeteering, but his head's popping up, and then he's got the two puppeteers on the two puppets on the other
he's
side.
got Punch on one hand and Judy on the other.
Just wanted to explain it for those that maybe
Right.
not have seen it.
And it's just nose up for his head, right? So he can't speak, but he can see exactly what's going on, and he can comprehend and understand what's happening. So they cut away to the jester or the funny man or whatever, and he's like sunbathing on the beach and like watching the Punch and Judy show. So they go and they do this whole weird puppeteering act, and then they take this big cartoon bomb, they light it up, and they set it on top of the Crap Puppeteer's head, right? And so you're like, oh, is this just part of the gag, or is this how they're going to fucking kill this guy? This is hilarious. All of a sudden, it keeps cutting back and forth between, like, real land and then this, like, beach land and
Yeah, where his body is and where his head is. Yeah.
And then this fucking bomb explodes, and then all of a sudden, it pops off from below the nose, and then this guy with, like, no head
And no hands.
and no hands falls out from the other side of this wall, and he just like falls back dead, and it's this like glorious fucking thing, which ties me into how it reminds me a little bit of Cannibal Pharaoh,
Okay.
with when they stick the guy and they tie him, like they stick him under the table and they put his head and then they cut off the top of his skull cap,
Okay.
and they just take the machete. That's all they do. They take the machete and go, and they
Kind of reminds me
top
of
his-
Faces of Death,
his
too.
own Faces of Death too, but I mean,
Where they,
yeah.
not part two, but just as
no,
well.
I know, as
Yeah.
well, right. I know. Well, Faces of Death, I feel like, has been like lightly touched upon in like a million different fucking movies.
Right.
But
well, because they do that monkey one where they bash it on the head, and then they pop the head off.
yeah, and then they eat the,
The
brain when
top,
it's
yeah,
still alive. and it's
exactly.
disgusting. But Cannibal Pharaoh is where it really made me think of it. Like
Right.
that's where my brain instantly went to. They don't eat his fucking brain or anything by any means, but that cutting off the top of the skull cap with exposing the brain from that part forward is what made me think of that film. So I
Sure.
just thought that was really cool. But I'm sure it wasn't intentional, but that's
never
what
know. You
made
may.
me think of it. So,
Right.
but that was fucking cool. Like the effects for that were incredible. If you think of the budget for this movie,
Yeah.
like the effects for the Thelma Fudd scene and this scene and multiple others throughout the film, they did a really great job of budgeting their money very well.
yeah.
And even with the stupid crap fucking like costume prosthetics that they had,
Yeah.
holy fuck! Like they did an incredible job. Like I was super impressed.
They
with
made
what
it
they
stretch,
did.
for
They
sure.
did make it stretch, and they stretched it the right way, and it was really cool.
Yeah. That was one of my favorite scenes, too. I think the only other one that I could talk about is, I mentioned it earlier. Well, when all the people first show up, there's this guy on the road. He's going to drop this crate off to his brother at his house, right? All these people get in. One of those people is the psychic commando chick, who's this like caricature of
She's supposed to be,
basically like a
this
70s queen.
voodoo priestess.
Voodoo priestess-esque, yeah, like something very much similar to like what's that voodoo priestess
Well, she's supposed
in the
to be
fucking
like
Pirates of the Caribbean.
Yeah. I know what you're
She's
talking
very
about.
much like that, but she's like done in like the 70s
She's supposed to
style
be, like,
disco.
a Marie Laveau kind of esque 70s disco, I guess, like blaxploitation
Right.
style.
Yeah.
actress.
Exactly.
Right?
When she shows up, she realizes that there's something dark in the house that's been unleashed because she has these powers. She shoots her hand up, and you start to realize that she keeps shooting up on her hand, and her hand's starting to get progressively worse. When she goes venturing around this house...
Smackhead. Sorry, that's what they were calling it.
Yeah, smackhead. She's jagging off in the fucking... Anyway, so she wanders around the house, she finds where this funny man lives, which is in this insanely windy staircase that goes all the way down to this land that's like looks like old-timey fucking houses.
It's fucking cool.
With like yard gnomes and like huts made out of like hay and shit.
It's ridiculous.
It's pretty ridiculous. And then she goes and finds his home, like in one of those houses.
Very medieval times.
Right.
But with lawn gnomes.
He's got like a TV in there though and some other stuff.
Yeah, but it's outwardly medieval times, but it's still progressive enough to have lawn gnomes and a TV and electricity.
It's like a mix and match.
Fucking weird.
You can tell that he's been around for a long time.
Right.
He just likes older things with the newer touch. But she goes down there and he notices that she's in his house somehow because she's watching him on the TV. And it's almost like he looks at her, he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?"
Why are you in my house?
And she's like, "I took a shit on your bed." He was like, "Wait, what? You did what?" I was like, "Oh my God."
That's not all.
But the psychic commando's arm, her two fingers, almost like Spock, spread apart. And then a cannon comes out of her hand and starts shooting rockets out of it at the funny man when he comes to meet her. And they have this stupid ass fucking segment where they were trying to do like the good, the bad, and the ugly. No, a fistful of dollars. They're trying to do some sort of spaghetti western.
Totally.
With Clint Eastwood, where he was wearing the most ridiculous like Mexican hat.
It's like a Mexican standoff.
Yeah, it was like a Mexican
terrible.
standoff, but it was like the worst thing ever. But she's just like pumping out these rockets at him and like blowing up his house.
And she's your stereotypical stormtrooper and can't make a fucking shot to save her life.
Yeah, that shit was funny.
I'm like, really, bitch? You're shooting rockets and you can't fucking connect anything.
Well, and then she fucking dies because he goes up her butt.
That's one of my
Do you remember?
scenes.
Oh, go ahead if you want to tell it.
I loved it. I was so confused because I don't remember how he got there, but then all of a sudden he just pops out of her fucking stomach.
Right.
And then just like kills her from the inside out, and it's fucking glorious.
Yeah, she just pops apart, and then he comes out of it, and he's like, what does he say? He's like, "My father told me one time that they don't like it in the bum."
Yeah, it's fucking ridiculous.
They don't like it in the end. They don't like it in the end.
They don't like it in the end. It's so fucking stupid and weird, but it was hilarious. And just like the effects were cool. So like it works, but it doesn't work at the same time. Like, I don't know. I can't hate it.
Yeah, I mean, it's...
Like, I can't hate it. Like, A for fucking effort, dude. Like...
It is one of those movies that, like... It's just one of those movies, kind of like... So to me, it's kind of like the Street Trash movie.
Yeah.
Right? Street Trash is so great, but he never really did anything again.
Right.
So it's like... It's just one of those movies that you know that, like... This is... No one's ever made anything like this. You're never going to see it again.
Right.
Is it as good as something like Street Trash? Probably not.
No.
But I think it's a pretty decent movie. If you're into weird shit, if you can get into like really tongue-in-cheek stalkers, like that make really bad jokes with a little bit of a deadpan humor and over-the-top gore and acting, you might like it.
Just if you want a good break, like you're watching this like fucking horror marathon, right? But you want a good break of something that still has cool kill scenes, but it's really funny and just stupid, and you don't really have to pay a whole lot of attention to it to get it.
Right.
This is something that you throw in the middle. So this is something you put in there to give your brain a fucking reprieve between like these crazy intellectual horror films, and you're just like,
right.
I want something fun to laugh at, but I don't want to be fucking bored.
Yeah,
this is what you want to watch.
Yeah, it's a pizza and beer thing.
Absolutely. Like, don't go into it like, please watch this fucking drunk or stoned. It makes it a million fucking times better. But don't go into this expecting it to be a fucking masterpiece, because it's not. And it is in its own way, but it's not a fucking John Carpenter film.
No.
So go into it.
It's more of like a trauma film, but from Britain.
It's a British trauma film.
Yeah, pretty much.
Go into it with zero expectations.
But not as
very
over the
minimal.
top. Sometimes
it's not as over the top.
It's not as over the
Trauma.
top as that.
It doesn't reach as hard as Trauma does.
Right.
Trauma reaches pretty fucking hard with every single film that they do.
They have done some pretty crazy
And they
shit.
do it really, really well in a lot of
earlier
the films.
stuff.
The earlier stuff, yes. And the later stuff is just overreaching.
Yeah.
But it's still to a part enjoyable. But this movie, don't go into it with high expectations. Go into it with no expectations. Smoke some fucking weed, drink some fucking beer, drink some whiskey, whatever, have some pizza, relax between, watch fucking Hellraiser, watch this, and then watch something else. I don't
Right.
know. Like, put this in the middle when you want a break.
Right.
But a cool break that's not completely a waste of time. This is something you want to watch. Is it something you should spend your money to own? I think so. Because it's not
Well,
going to cost you a lot of money. Like, it's not a waste
There's
of
plenty
money.
of collectors out there. If you're a collector of movies and you're looking for like the weirdest little gems that you've never, nobody would ever see,
This is
that
one
are
of
hard
them.
to get. I mean, the movie's actually, if you're in America, you can get the movie for $40 on DVD. They haven't even brought it to Blu-ray. They do have a Region B Blu-ray out in the UK for like £10.
Right.
I thought about buying it and having it shipped here in a couple of weeks, but I was like, I don't know if it'll play in my player. So, but anyway,
Check it out. Give it a shot. I don't think you're going to regret it. It's super fun.
yeah.
I was really impressed, and I'm a fucking picky bitch about stuff, and half the time Alex is like, watch this. And I'm like, why are you making me watch this shit? But it's entertaining.
Yeah.
You're not going to fucking hate us for wasting an hour and 20 minutes of your time to watch this movie. Guarantee it.
Well, and there is another movie that we're going to be talking about, and it is Slaughter High. If you've never seen Slaughter High, this was my first time watching it.
Oh,
I
really?
thought I had seen it. I really thought I had, because I always remember seeing the skeleton with the fucking graduation cap on.
Yeah.
And the apple and like the backboard. Like, I always thought I had seen it, but I don't think I've ever seen this movie.
Really?
So it was like kind of fresh and new to me. You've seen it before?
I had seen it before.
Really?
Which I was surprised by, because when I saw the picture that you sent me, like when I looked it up, I was like, this looks kind of familiar, but I don't think I've seen this. And about 25 minutes into the movie, I'm like, I've seen this.
Right.
How have I fucking seen this?
Speaking of trauma and British movies, this is another British film.
Yes.
So we're almost like doing British films this week. I didn't even
Unintentionally?
realize it was a British film until I started doing some of the research on it. I noticed that some of the actors had like a weird accent.
Right.
And I thought for a second, I was like, they're either Kiwi or Australian trying to pretend to be American.
Right.
But
The
it was
one girl
actually
especially.
British guys, northern British guys trying to act. One of them was from Ireland, actually. And some, like 2 or 3 of the actors were also American.
The one girl was where I really picked it up, though.
Right.
Her in particular I was like, what the fuck?
It was, this movie was also original titled was called April Fool's Day.
Which makes more sense.
Right. Which is technically an April Fool's Day movie, which I did not know also.
Yeah.
But apparently they had to change the name. I don't know. There is some information on that. I'll give you guys that in a little bit.
I kind of wish they didn't, because it makes more sense later on when you watch the movie if they
still
would have left it
works.
as April Fool's Day, because I was so fucking confused
It still works.
when they explain shit later on. I'm like, what? And another reason that led me to understand that it was a British, filmed in Britain and not filmed in the United States, because of they explain it later. But I was like, what? The fuck are you talking about? And I know you know what I'm talking about, but.
And to give you guys kind of an idea of what the story is, a group of popular students play a cruel prank on a shy nerd named Marty, resulting in a terrible accident. Years later, a reunion is held where each of the students face a stalker killer who may be the same nerd out for revenge. This was directed and written by Mark Ezra. As well as there's 3 people that wrote and direct this movie, by the way. They all kind of share.
Really?
Yeah, they all kind of share some of the.
3 people created this?
Yes, 3 directors. Mark Ezra, he's done a project called House Swap, which is kind of a newer horror movie. Also was directed and written by George Dugdale, who did the movies Living Doll. Also, Peter Mackenzie Lytton, who also did a feature called Heaven's a Drag. But they've all done kind of like some other stuff, and this was the one that they joined up on together, and they even worked together on those other films all together as well. I think one of them got to be the lead director in each of their movies, but they all like helped write, and they worked really well together. Also, it was produced by Dick Randall, who also produced movies like Pieces, Don't Open Till Christmas, and the movie Living Doll. Some of the cast for this movie is Carolyn Monroe. She was the biggest star in this movie, by the way. She plays Carol. She was in the movie Faceless, Maniac, Star Crash, the original James Bond Casino Royale from the 60s, Dr. Phibes Rise Again, Dracula AD. She was actually like 36 when this movie came
playing
out.
a teenager?
And you could tell.
Yeah, you can definitely
I was like,
tell.
the first time I see her, I was like, Christina, is that woman 37 or something? She started
we were
laughing.
really confused too.
Also, Simon Scudamore, who plays the nerd who gets picked on, named Marty. He'd never acted in anything. He literally walked in, did the part, did a really good job, and they hired him. And there's kind of a sad story that I'll get to in a little bit about that guy too. Also, Carmine Lanicone, he was what I thought at first. I was like, wait, Carmine? I thought that was a female name, but it's actually a male's name. Goes by Skip in the movie.
Ugh.
He was in a popular 80s sort of comedy called Made to Order, which I believe starred the girl from House 2. She was in the movie. She played a maid in that movie too, which is weird. I could be wrong, though. I forget. Gary Martin, who plays Joe, cute. He's in a newer movie called Cute Little Buggers about bunnies that attack and kill everybody. And it's some of the worst CGI I've ever seen.
Fuck.
But I think it's intentionally bad
It's like
for that reason.
Bunnicula, but stupid.
It's pretty bad.
Which Bunnicula's pretty dumb.
This looks even worse, I'm sure.
Oh, no.
He's also done a ton of voice acting in movies, games, TV. And believe it or not, this movie was scored by two or three songs, I think, by Harry Manfredini, who also worked on Friday the 13th, which was really weird that he did this movie.
It's really fucking weird.
The
fucking music is terrible.
Well, some of it's okay.
No, it's pretty awful.
But I think what happened was that he wasn't getting paid a lot, and actually he wanted £50,000 just to do the music for this movie.
My biggest complaint, Mouse and I, our biggest complaint of this fucking movie.
He didn't do all the music.
Okay, but
he did some of the music,
which makes sense.
Some
of it's
parts,
good.
The parts that you probably wouldn't recognize, he didn't do.
Okay.
Or the parts that you probably think of that you don't like are not the ones that he did.
Not that
Because
he
I
did.
thought of the same thing.
Okay, because that was literally our biggest complaint, was the fucking music for this movie was god-awful.
There is like a section where the blood's coming up out of the toilet. That was Henry Manfredini.
Okay.
But they're just...
was cool.
It's just tense parts.
Yeah, there's a
They're
lot
just
of
really
it that
tense
was
parts.
just bad.
Yeah.
It was bad.
But the movie was made with a budget of £140,000. So you can imagine if Harry Manfredini did £50,000, then he took a big chunk.
Yeah, he did.
They also gave a lot of money to the coach in the movie as well, which is really weird too.
Like a 5-minute fucking role.
I think they just didn't know what they were doing with the money. But Dick Randall was a kind of a character. He's like a producer. He's like, I got all these stories. Here's one.
Yeah.
Just he was even in the movie as the agent who talks to the girl on the phone for the movies. So, but what do you think of this movie though?
I had fun with it. It's not my favorite, but
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like I always say I didn't hate it. But I didn't hate it.
Yeah.
Like I said, the music took me out of it a lot.
Okay.
And it was overbearing and overpowering, and it was just fucking annoying. And there's a lot of
Well, when you say the music, there's one particular track you're talking about.
there's a couple of particular tracks that pertain to each scene.
But it had that same weird synth line in
you
it.
know what
That's
I'm
the one you're talking about. It's just that one. That's just
It was
one
awful.
song. That's one song, and it was. I don't think that was Manfredini.
No, I fucking hope not, because it was terrible. So many fucking things that don't make any fucking sense about it.
There's some extra scenes that really
drive
didn't need to
me
be there.
fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Like, why is there a fucking bed in a high school? Why is there a fucking bathtub and a shower in a high school that look like somebody's bathroom?
Right.
and their house. None of that makes any fucking sense, first and foremost. So that is just a big... The little things like that are what bother me.
Okay.
But I don't know. Like, there was cohesiveness,
It's
but there's
because it
not
didn't flow well
cohesiveness.
for you.
It did not flow well for me at
Yeah,
all.
I don't think it's those
It was
those little things that you're talking about. I think it's just it didn't flow well because
was
it did have a hard time. It struggles through.
It absolutely does. It's
Yeah.
completely disjointed and disheveled all over the fucking place. Like,
Right.
there's no straight story from start to finish. It's just like, here, we're going to start here, and then we're going to way the fuck over here, and then we're going to way the fuck over this way, and then we're going to go way the fuck back over here, and then it's just like... And it just makes no fucking sense, but it all somewhat ties together in a weird fucking way, and then it ends over here, and you're like, what the fuck?
Well, is there anything that
happened?
you did like about it? Or
No, a lot of the kill scenes were cool as fuck.
okay,
Like, they were cool. Like, that in itself, for the most part, made up for it for me.
right? It made you go. It
kept
helped
me
you make it
interested.
to the end.
It helped me make it to the end. It kept me interested to watch it until the end because I wanted to see how each individual person was going to die.
Okay.
And I don't know.
Okay.
It was still fun. Like, Mouse liked it more than me.
I can see that. Did he like Funny Man a lot?
He didn't watch it.
Oh.
He had practice, and I watched it by myself. And I told him, I was like, this is the one that you're going to like, not this
And
other
it
one.
is, yeah.
And I told him about it. He's like, that sounds fucking hilarious. So
Yeah.
I'm going to make him watch it.
You're gonna watch it with him or something?
Yeah, I'm going to watch it with him. But
Okay.
I know he's going to like it.
But he liked this one a little bit.
He did. He liked it more than me.
Okay.
He was like, I actually liked it. It's not my least favorite out of all the movies Alex makes you watch. Out of all the weird shit Alex makes you watch, like, I actually liked this one. And I'm like, really? Because I kind of hated it.
Oh, I liked it.
Like, there's parts of it that I really enjoyed, but other parts of it that I just didn't like because it just felt so unnecessary and stupid to me that it didn't make any sense. But I try to go into these movies without any expectations.
Right.
So...
Well, I had a lot of, like, the trailer was a little different. I mean, I think it made my imagination kind of blow up a little bit more.
Right.
Than the movie actually paid off.
I completely agree.
So, I mean, and this, again, was my first time watching it. So, I may have a little bit of a different opinion than for someone who may have grown up watching this, because it might be a little bit more nostalgic for those people. I don't know. I don't really feel like it's like an amazing movie.
But it's not awful.
But there is a lot done with a little budget, I feel. Like, they did a pretty damn good job with some creative ideas. There's some funny stuff in it, but most of it is just so over the top that it's like, I don't know. It kind of reminds me of like a trauma film,
Oh, absolutely.
but like
subdued.
like a British film trying to do an American trauma film.
It's a subdued trauma film.
Right. And the whole inspiration for this movie apparently was Friday the 13th, by the way. Yeah.
Yikes.
Dick Randall was like, make me a Friday the 13th film. This is a good picture to make.
Oh, they failed that big time because I don't get that fucking vibe, period.
Well,
You get that vibe from Funny Man. You don't get that vibe from this at
it
all.
does have that trauma feel because it is so tongue-in-cheek,
I get
you know?
more trauma than I do Friday the 13th.
I still...
I'm sorry, did you say Friday the 13th or...
Friday the 13th, yeah.
Okay, you're right, okay.
But I still like it, though. Like, I think it's a good movie in the sense that, you know, I like really deep-cut movies that I can be like, okay, this scene is so worth keeping this movie. Or this scene is so weird. And it's definitely one of those movies that you can sit with your friends and make fun of while you watch it because it's kind of ridiculous.
Yeah. I'm going
So-
to dial back what I said previously because I was mixing up Nightmare on Elm Street and Friday the 13th.
Oh, okay. What do you mean?
With what you said, because I can kind of see how they were trying to go for a Friday the 13th element.
Yeah. No, they
this.
wanted a slasher movie.
Okay, which makes sense. And I don't know why, but my fucking brain, probably because of whiskey, confused and thought you said Nightmare on Elm Street was what they were trying to go for this. Like,
yeah.
That doesn't make any fucking sense. Anyway, Friday the 13th actually works in a way, in a weird way.
It's different.
I can kind of see where they're trying. They failed big time,
Yeah.
but I can see why they went for that direction, or why they were trying to go that direction, or how they were trying to go that direction. So that's me retracting on what I previously said because I mixed up shit in my whiskey brain head. So
No worries.
I want to talk about that so I didn't sound like a complete and total fucking moron. 'Cause I know what I'm talking about.
To give you guys kind of an idea what the story's about a little bit, basically what happens is these high school kids are picking on the nerdy guy, which, doesn't make sense to a lot of you younger folks these days because nerdy's kind of cool right now. And back in the day, though, nerdy was not very cool, and being a jock and all this other shit really was. So they were kind of trying to hearken to a time that was like that, and the nerdy kid gets picked on all the time, and he gets all these, like, this entire group of friends, like, literally force him to hook up with this Carolyn Monroe chick who plays Carol. Carol walks him into the shower room, gets him to get naked. They have all these cameras set up, like, to shoot video to capture him fucking naked and getting turned down. And they even like put like electrical charges on the towel rack, so when he goes to grab for the towel, he gets
fucking electrocuted.
Like, what the fuck? Like,
fucked up.
So he gets in there, and then like somebody tells on him and tells the coach, and the coach comes in and then punishes everyone, including the kid.
It's the janitor.
The janitor finds out. That's right.
Being the caretaker later on.
Right, yeah. 20 years, 10 years later.
Which I was super pissed about when they get to that point, by the way.
It made sense financially.
No, absolutely. It completely did, but it still pissed me off.
But so anyway, after this happens and he gets, like all the kids like aren't done yet. So they see him working in the chemistry lab. He's got like a big old, by the way, do not store nitroglycerin acid above your head on a shaky rack.
Like 3 fucking shelves above you?
Yeah.
Fucking moron.
Like he just sets it up there and it's all shifting around, and then like, I forget what they do, but they like put something in one of his like experiments and then it pops.
No, they give him the joint.
Which has fake cigarette popping things in it.
The joint that's like poisoned and some shit or whatever, like, and it's got this like weird poppy, like,
it's like exploding cigar shit.
Like the shit you throw on the ground, like the little papers that pop, like that you throw on the ground. That's what it reminds me of.
Well, they said that it was the exploding cigars.
Okay. Yeah, that makes sense.
That's what it was. They pulled the little filament thing out that's like a match.
Yeah.
And they stuck it in there to make it a joint because whatever. But anyway.
They're assholes.
Yeah. Long story short. What'd I say?
Shirt.
Oh, I'm a little drunk.
Whatever.
Long story short. He gets the chemicals mixed up. It causes him to start a fire, and then all of a sudden he bumps into the acid. The acid spills on him, catches everything on fire, melts his face off and like his hands. Then like the whole room explodes, I guess, apparently. And then all the kids are like watching him in there, and he gets taken off. Like, he's still alive, but they all forget about it, and fast forwards 10 years later, and they're
poorly.
Yeah,
very fucking poorly. Fast forwards to 10 years later, mind you.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense. They all look the same.
They do,
except they drive cars.
Yeah. Well, my biggest thing was like their transition into the 10-year fucking like fast forward later is with Carol, right? Like, but it's not even. I don't even think it was her that's like talking to him when they're taking him off in the stretcher. I think it was Stella's character.
I don't remember.
But then he's like choking someone, and then all of a sudden Carol wakes up in this fucking night terror panic
in
this like weird ass fucking bed.
No, Marty.
Yeah, and she's like in this fucking sleazy, sexy nightgown.
Dude, that fucking bed, I was like, damn,
it was
dude.
ridiculous, right?
I was like, how much does that bed cost?
That's
it looks
what
like
I said.
I was like, is that a $10,000 bed?
Yeah, I'm like, that's fucking
It's got lights.
stupid.
It's got fucking like.
But it was cool.
You know,
like I'd sleep in that.
Yeah, it's got that like cushy hand backing.
It was crazy.
You know, like so that
It's
you can when
super
you're having
80s.
sex and getting crazy.
Yeah, it's super 80s.
It's got lights in it.
Super 80s, like early 90s.
It's got a disco ball.
It was crazy. It probably vibrates and spins around. I don't know. But yeah, and then all of a sudden it like pans to this bitch in this like negligee getting out of bed. And I'm all, what fucking high schooler dresses like that to go to sleep?
It didn't really make sense.
It didn't make sense. And then all of a sudden it progresses. She takes the phone call, and then you realize, oh, okay, so she's like this fucking movie star trying not to do porn 10 years later, but staying relevant, whatever, right? And then they like gradually go into the 10-year reunion thing. I'd rather go to my high school reunion than do this fucking film or whatever that she says. And I'm like, oh, Jesus. Okay, so this is supposed to be 10 years later, and now they're gonna go to their like high school reunion. Like, it was just poorly fucking like.
Well, a lot of the dialogue in this movie's really bad.
But this in particular was just horrible.
Lots of overacting, lots of like hard to pay attention moments.
Yeah, it was bad.
Just bad. But but Marty basically the gist is that they're showing up to their old school to have this reunion, and the whole thing is like shut down and dirty and messy, and there's only one room in this whole place with all these drinks, which is what we made the
Marty Party.
the Marty Party horror shot that we did, which if
It
you
was
didn't listen last
disgusting.
Monday, you should drink.
Don't fucking do it. It was disgusting. You can't even enjoy it with some fava beans and a nice Chianti. It's fucking terrible. It's the worst shot we've ever done. Please don't do it.
Well, after all of this, all shit breaks loose. People are dying left and right and disappearing and having stupid parties, and he poisons some of the food, he stabs people, kills them in all these different ways as a jester. He puts on the school mascot face, right? Is that what it is?
I believe so, but it was the one guy that was wearing it. Or was it a girl?
Well, one of the kids.
One of the characters was wearing
originally
it
when they fuck with him. Yeah.
And that's what he embodies, is this like jester character mask.
get back.
Because half his face is melted off, so he doesn't want to look like himself. He wants to be this like weird, trying to do the slasher thing.
Right. There is some pretty interesting trivia about this. I watched quite a bit about it. I got the Vestra on DVD or Blu-ray. They have some pretty good extras in there. Plus, I did a little bit of more research. But Carolyn Monroe said all the directors worked really well together. She actually was dating one of the directors.
Fucking shocker.
George, which they didn't tell anybody except for the directors knew because they were all buddies.
Right.
So nobody knew that they were actually together. And she said that they actually treated her like scum in a way because like they didn't include her in any of the directors' meetings or anything. They like kept it really quiet because they didn't want her to think that she was going to get favoritism.
Yeah. Right. That's fair.
So, but she'd actually shot at that. The exterior shots you see of the school, by the way, are an old asylum. So she'd actually shot there before in a music video. And this music video was Goody Two Shoes by Adam Ant. Don't drink, don't smoke. What
my
you
God.
gonna do? Don't drink, don't smoke.
That's
What
fucking-
do- Goody Two Shoes.
Hilarious. Oh my
Yeah,
God.
so which is funny because she was actually on the same exterior shots of the movie or the music video of that, and that's actually how she got the job. Is from, I think, that music video.
Probably. That's hilarious.
Her and the director said that the place where they shot all the exterior shots, that place, that asylum, was really fucking scary. And they said
I bet.
they had some really spooky shit that happened on around them, and they said that it was really haunted, and she was freaked out by it, and they were all freaked out by it. They said that it was like this super heavy feeling. It was like an old Victorian asylum that had been shut down, and a lot of the guards wouldn't even go in some of the rooms.
It's awesome.
So they were like, fuck that, you guys can do what you want, but I'm not going in
I'm
there.
not going in there. Right.
So one of the co-directors, Mark Ezra, he got started in filmmaking when his dad handed him and his sister a movie camera. So he was just like, here's a roll of film each, go make a movie. And so Mark Ezra told his sister, he tricked her into saying, he said, I'll tell you what, why don't you give me your roll of film and I'll have you star in my movie. And so she gave him the roll of film, and that's
Cute.
his. I thought it was pretty cute.
That is cute.
I mean, what a cool fucking dad, right? Mm-hmm. His dad was a filmmaker, and then he tricks his little sister because he had the passion. That's how he figured out he had this passion. I thought that was really cool, man.
That is cool.
Also, co-director Mark Ezra met Peter and George to collaborate, and George and Peter worked at a special effects company, so that's where you're getting some of the special effects in this movie, is that they actually did work on it. Although they kind of talk about, like, which one did what. Like, George did some of the actor wrangling, so he, like, was the agent and, like, got the people, and then, like, Mark did, like, special effects, and so did the other guy, but they all kind of chipped in on writing and stuff, so it's a little unclear online, like
Who
a lot
has
of
what part and what?
yeah, like what role they have in, so they just kind of split the difference. So remember when I told you that there was Simon Scudamore who plays Marty, the guy that gets revenge on everybody? Mm-hmm. Something happened to him shortly after they shot the last shot on it. He actually killed himself.
Oh my God.
Yeah, through drug addiction. It was a forced overdose. Like
That's
an
sad.
intentional overdose. Yeah, which is really weird. They didn't really want to talk about it very much, but a lot of people have speculated that, it was how much pressure he was on the set of the movie, and like that's why he did it. And it was like none of that. Apparently, he had a really bad drug addiction.
Right. I don't see how he could have been pressured so severely making that movie.
They were very, very, very trying to get away from talking about it. I think probably just because out of respect.
Probably.
More so than anything, and they didn't want to drudge up any, you know what I mean? Like, he's already dead. They didn't want to talk crap about him.
Right, you don't speak ill of the dead.
But it was literally shortly after the last shots that it happened.
That's crazy.
So he didn't even get to make the release.
Oh, wow.
I don't think. So, Mark Ezra also, he was one of the main people that they interviewed. The other guys did some of the commentary. Mm-hmm. But Mark Ezra was saying that when they got there to the Cannes Film Festival, they were trying to sell the movie, and a lot of people ran out of the theater at the end of it. And he was like, oh, fuck, this is it. This is the end of film for making for me, I guess, you know? But he turned to Dick Randall, and Dick Randall was like, no, they're running to be the first to buy the film. That's how this works. Like, they just get an idea of whether or not they like it or not, and then they go run to buy the film.
Okay.
Because they have to put a bid in.
Right.
Or whatever, they try to do it. So apparently, Vestron bought it for 9 times what it cost.
Nice.
So 150,000 times 9. So they did pretty good for themselves.
That's awesome.
You know, it wasn't.
Awesome.
I don't think this was like one of those big ass movies that everybody's like, "Oh my God, Slaughter High!" There are very few people that are like, "Oh yeah, I remember getting that on the video shelf."
It's turned into a kind of like a little bit of a subdued cult classic.
It is definitely. It's like it's a weird cult.
Interestingly enough, like when you mentioned that you wanted to do it, I had 2 different people that I follow on like Instagram.
They're like, "Oh,
some
really?"
Horror communities that shared that they just recently picked this up.
Yes, yeah, because it just came out
in a store, and I'm like, "What the fuck?" Like. They're like, oh, I just picked this up, Slaughter High, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, well.
Well, I wanted to try to do something a little bit more current that came out, so.
No, it just made me laugh because I'm like, oh, the timing. Like, I'm talking about that this week.
Right.
I'm going to be on the Void Horror Podcast. Check it
out. Yeah, just tag.
Tag.
There you go. Check this out. Check this out. Long live the void. Long live the void.
Yeah, it was hilarious. Like, I was like, oh, the timing is so weird, but here we go. Plug.
You know, it's funny that Vestron picked this up, though, but apparently they were like Netflix at this particular time, where they were just buying anything they could, you know?
Yeah.
Like, Netflix just seems like, you shit in a bucket, okay? Like
mass production!
Like, I think there was like a South Park episode recently where they were like talking about that.
Probably.
I think it was South Park? I can't remember, but they were making fun of.
He'll know.
They were making fun of Netflix. Oh, it was South Park because
sure
Cartman was trying to pitch this idea of Super Friends to Netflix.
You're correct.
Yeah,
it is South Park.
So
he makes me watch it. He's seen every goddamn episode of that show.
Yeah, it was pretty funny, but
it was funny.
The reason I bring it up is only because Vestron was in his phase where they were doing really well, so they had all this extra money, and they were just trying to buy like films to try to pad their their whole collection.
Right.
So, but.
Which makes sense.
They even said they were like, we're just on a buying spree, and they just happen to like our shit. So, did you have any favorite scenes in this one though?
I do.
Okay.
I do. Do I have to go in chronological order?
Please.
God damn it.
I do that because it's spoilery,
I
so it
know,
gets more spoilery to the end.
What? Okay, so. But what's yours? Because yours may be before me. What's your first one?
No, go ahead. Start it off, and I'll kick off the one before it if it is.
If it is, are you sure?
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, because my favorite fucking scene from this is the whole fucking acid bath.
Oh, yeah, okay.
So dope. So fucking unnecessary and absolutely fucking ridiculous. Why would that ever happen? First and foremost. But
yeah, why would she be in there? It's like that whole part made no sense.
Of all of the shit, and like I actually love the scene that leads to that too. Like that kill scene prior to that moment is pretty fucking cool too, because he drinks the PBR or whatever that has acid in it.
Right, and his stomach pops.
And his stomach just fucking explodes, right? And
right.
It's so fucking cool, and just blood all over this chick, right? So she somehow miraculously, this is a high school, finds a regular ass bathroom that has a shower and tub.
Yeah, because it pops on her face, and
she's got like, blood on her.
She's like so tragically hurt.
Everybody ditches her ass, first of all, so she's like alone, and everyone leaves her, and they just disappear. And
like, I know you've just been spit blood on, and you're having obviously a really bad time, but I'll see you later.
Yeah, but bye.
See ya.
They're all fucking gone. And so she's just wandering around the halls by herself and is like covered in blood. And the first thing she decides is, I'm going to take a bath.
Right.
Like, this is where just, I don't know, just unnecessary fucking nudity and shit comes into play for me, where I'm like, this is so dumb.
Well, you know, the directors...
never happened, but I understand why you're doing it.
The directors actually said that those two scenes, the stomach popping, which I thought was pretty cool, because...
It was cool.
I liked it because, like, the organs are, like, starting to squirt out, like, all weird, and I thought that
awesome.
looked really cool.
It did look cool.
But they said that scene and the acid bath scene did not work out how they wanted.
Which I can understand and tell with the acid bath.
Well, because you see her face all melt and shit. Like,
there's
it's
a lot
all
of
weird.
issues with it. There's a lot of continuity issues, especially with that scene.
Yeah.
But it was still cool. So it's like, I'm just gonna fucking, like, I need to wash this blood off my face. So instead of just washing my face off in a sink, I'm gonna take a bath. What?
Right.
So she strips down completely buck-ass naked and gets in this fucking bathtub. And this is where I can see the fucking, like, ode to Friday the 13th. Because Friday the 13th
No, you mean Nightmare on Elm Street.
Shut up.
You're saying that because
No,
you're talking
said
about
it
the
was...
claws coming up out of the water.
No, it's not what I'm talking about at all.
Oh, okay, go ahead.
No, not that. Not that scene. Not that scene. But this is where I can see where you were talking about how they're trying to do this, like, Friday the 13th thing, right? Like, which makes sense to me because Friday the 13th is all fucking tits and sex and violence, right?
Or as I say, when they get nude, I'm like, this is where it gets really good,
This is where it gets
Christina.
really good, yeah. So she gets naked, gets into the bath to wash the blood that's just on her face off, which she takes forever to wash off, by the way. So,
yeah, I know. Like, what the fuck?
just, like,
wipe that shit off right away.
gratuitous nudity about her fucking cleavage and shit. And I'm just like, get to the fucking point, right? Like, and they finally do, and then all of a sudden this, like, acid starts steaming through the water. Instead of the water, it's replaced by this nitric acid, right? That's essentially what, like, destroyed Marty's fucking face or whatever.
Right.
So she starts to casually burn to death, pretty much. Like, the acid starts to burn her, and it's so inconsistent when you watch it.
It really is.
It's
it
so bad. I mean, the makeup's still really good. Like, the effects.
It was cool, yeah.
The effects are cool. The effects are really good, especially for that time. But it jumps back and forth so dramatically. Like, if you really pay attention, you can see how spotty it is, and it's fucking awful.
Yeah.
But it's still cool if you take it piece by piece.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, it just comes down to it, and she just, like, finally, like, just lets go. And then falls into this tub, and then her fucking face just melts.
Yeah, that part was weird as
away.
shit.
And I'm like, how did that melt so quickly, but the rest of her body took 20 fucking years to melt?
Yeah, it's like stop motion. They just didn't piece it together well.
It was weird.
They were like, oh, we'll just do this and we'll make it work. And then the editor was like, fuck you.
Yeah. But it was still cool. Like, I don't know. I still enjoyed it. Like, I was like, fucking acid bath. Like, this works for me. Like, I can see why they made a band name out of this. Like,
well, that is not why. I don't think it's that movie, but it may be.
But I'm sure it's not. If it is, I'm amazed. But I know, like, me too. But I mean, if this is what, like, inspired that, I doubt it, because I think they were around before that.
I want to mention something that, like, that really bothers me about this movie. So what's up with Carol leaving the killer weapons all the fucking time?
Right. Fuck.
It's like she first...
That's what fucking Mouse said. It was cracking the fuck up.
I was like yelling at the screen when it was happening. I was like, she finally gets the jump on him with the bat. She hits the shit out of him. He falls. That's where you don't stop. That's where you crack him over the head. You kill him or take the bat with you and try to escape. I can understand maybe not wanting to keep hitting somebody till they're dead.
Right.
But then she leaves
it
there for him instead, and then he grabs the bat and goes after her.
Yeah.
And then she pushes him out of a window.
And then she throws the fucking javelin down.
What the fuck is that all about?
Mouse fucking goes, well, thanks for the fucking weapon, you stupid bitch. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, my husband's so fucking quiet and say shit. That's what he says. And I'm like, that's what I thought. Like, what the fuck is that?
Well, the other thing I was thinking when that part happened, though, is like, not only I'm like, oh, because I told Christina, I was like, well, there she is, handing her another weapon.
Another one, yeah.
And then, but the thing I noticed is that really hit the floor. So when she drops that javelin, it's like, bang, on the ground. And it could have hurt him. Like, it could have hurt him bad.
It actually hurt him.
Yeah,
right.
and I was like, I don't know what they were trying to do at that moment.
I don't either.
Like, Like, wouldn't it?
It's completely
it just
lost.
doesn't make any fucking sense.
No, it was so fucking weird. Like, again, goes where my disjointed displacement issue is with this movie. There's so many fucking problems.
Maybe they
with
thought
it.
accidents like that happen way too frequently.
Right. And then, like, who the fuck is gonna watch all their friends fucking die and then decide, I'm gonna go fuck in this weird random bed that's in this high school?
Oh, yeah, that was one of mine.
Who was gonna do that?
Yeah.
Who? But I'm not getting into, like, if that's one of your favorite scenes.
Go ahead. Start it up.
No. If that's one of your favorite scenes, I'll let you get into
No,
that.
go ahead.
But it's not one of my favorite scenes by any means. It's just,
Okay.
to me, that's why I'll let you talk about it. But I was just like, why would you fucking do that? But then again, this is where I can see their kind of ode to Friday the 13th.
Yeah, what was it, Joe? Was it Joe or Frank?
It's Frank.
So
It's
Frank,
not her husband.
Frank and Stella. Yeah, that's right, because Joe's her husband. And she starts hitting on fucking Frank
And
when
they're-
Joe's like working on the fucking lawnmower.
Yeah, and their kid is...
Wait, their kid?
They have a kid. They're talking about it.
Oh, yeah.
And it's the guy she's cheating on him with,
but
not
she
the
cheats,
dad.
and Frank decides to bang her anyway.
Yeah.
And
Oh, wait, no. Is she married? I'm confused.
she's with Joe, the guy that's in the lawnmower.
Joe gets killed by the lawnmower.
Yeah.
Right, which was cool.
Yeah.
But anyway.
But, so that scene where they're fucking in the bed, he's like having sex with her. One of the
hilarious.
funniest things in this fucking movie that had me going, that I fucking loved, is she's like, talk dirty to me, Frank. And he's like, tits, fuck, screw.
I died laughing.
The fuck?
And I guarantee you the next time Mouse and I have sex, he's going to do that to me.
Oh my God.
Because he was losing his fucking mind. The entire time that was going on, and I guarantee you it's going to happen.
Dude, that shit was so that's probably the funniest line in the whole fucking movie.
He's legit going to be like, tits! And I'm like, fuck you. Like, God damn it.
Talk dirty to me.
I know he's
Tits! But he doesn't even say it like
Screw!
angry. He's just
No.
like tits.
Yeah, tits.
Uh,
Oh, yeah.
fuck.
Screw. It's fucking so stupid, but so fun. I was laughing so
But
hard.
anyway, what happens after that is Marty sticks the electric cords or cables or whatever to the bed. It's a metal bed, and then they all die from electrocution.
Well,
It's-
she grabs the headboard,
right.
and it electrocutes her as she's climaxing.
Oh, that's right. That makes
And
sense.
he's fucking her, so because that electric current's been created, it electrocutes
Through his
him
penis.
through his dick that's in her
His
vagina.
penal
His penal.
and her vagina.
His rod.
Her vagine.
His rod is inserted into her vagine, and then his
You're being
rod
misogynist,
acts
man.
as the conductor. And no, I'm being scientific.
Just a joke.
I'm being scientific.
Clearly.
His rod acts as the conductor and sucks up the fucking electricity coming from her cooter, and then all of a sudden he fucking gets electrocuted too, and then it's like he just falls off of her on the side of the bed, and that's all from Frank. That's it.
Yeah.
That's fucking it, literally. But you watch her and her fucking jiggly bits get electrocuted for like 5 solid minutes, while this motherfucker just like bleh, flies off the bed, and that's it. While you're sitting there still watching her supposedly climaxing and her fucking tits
It's pretty
waggling around in the
ridiculous.
air for an extra 5 minutes, and it's gratuitous and annoying.
So let me ask you this. What's the other scene that you were going to talk about, and then we'll wrap it up?
Shit. I didn't really have another favorite.
Well, the lawnmower scene, I wouldn't say it's like my favorite, but it is one of the more notable scenes in my
For sure.
opinion. I thought it was interesting because he like tries to hold the lawnmower up as he's
forever.
working on it.
Yeah.
And I forget why he's even working on the goddamn thing.
I don't even remember.
So that they can get out of town or leave.
I don't know. I feel like they maybe talked about it, but it was very loose. And
Because
I
doesn't one of
didn't
them
care.
try to get out in the car and then he like kills
Ooh,
the
he gets
guy,
stabbed or some shit.
stabs him through the chest or whatever,
Yeah, yeah,
which was kind of
yeah.
silly. And then he like smacks into somebody else or something like that. I can't remember, but I think he's trying to fix the. Oh, I think he's trying to
stabs
get
him
the
through the car.
lawnmower to get the power back on.
Probably. But
That's
yeah,
what
he
it
stabs
was.
him in the front seat of the car.
Right.
That's what it is. And he's trying to drive away, and he stabs him to death, and then he drives off, and then they see him in the headlights outside of the car somehow.
Well, he's underneath the lawnmower, working on it. Marty turns on the lawnmower, drops the block out of it so that it's falling on him. He's trying to keep it up. And then he cuts each of his arms so that he can't hold it up because he's like hurt, you know?
Yeah.
And then it falls down and just like chops up his scrumdiddlyums and legs and shit, and it
He
just
very
squirts blood.
superficially cuts his arms, by the way. It's not even deep
It's not the best gore scene.
Not anything that would actually hinder you from holding up this fucking lawnmower to save your life above your head.
It's like someone took a paintbrush and just wiped it on his arm.
Yeah, it's so bad. Like, out of all the cool gore shit that they did, like, they should have spent, like, at least $5 more on that shit. Like,
it kind of felt like it needed it.
it was bad. Yeah, it was real bad. They should have spent a little money on less money on the acid bath scene.
Well, that's your
and spent more
typical,
money
like,
on that,
cut
but
scene, you know.
For sure.
That scene, by the way, Mark Ezra said someone he knew tried to clear out a lawnmower underneath while it was still running.
Lost their hands.
And he lost
shit.
his fingers, and
Yeah.
that's what inspired it, apparently, which is not how it ends up, but I don't know. Maybe that's just what they thought would work.
Loses, like, ghibli bits or something. Doesn't it fall on his crotch?
I think his dick goes up
Or
and slaps him in the mouth.
Does it really?
No, not really.
I was like, what the fuck? I missed that part, and I'm gonna fucking go back and watch it.
God, I love that part,
I'm
though.
gonna go back and watch that shit 'cause it's hilarious.
Yeah, it's so funny because I'm sitting here laughing about that guy getting killed, and I just got to mention this, guys, because I want to get your opinion on it, and it might spawn an entire episode about this subject in particular. Somebody said that I'm the biggest piece of shit, and I'm a scumbag pig because I watch horror movies, and I supposedly, quote unquote, get off on watching women get tortured and murdered
And objectified.
and objectified, and that I was a filthy, disgusting pig. And it was not a girl or anything like that. So, like, Brittany was like, dude, that girl needs to chill the fuck out. And I was like, it's a guy. And she was like, oh shit.
I thought I was a crazy feminist.
She was like, oh, well, that guy needs to stop being such a chick.
Yeah, he needs to fucking, like, stick a tampon in his pussy and calm the fuck down.
I was like, damn.
Jesus.
I was like, damn, yeah. I was like, you can get away with that. I'm fine with it. I don't give a shit.
No, like, while I can see his point, as I've stated when we talked about this a little bit, and we're gonna have a whole episode about this,
Right.
guys, in the future, but as I can see his point, he's completely fucking misguided.
He's
Plain
stupid,
and simple is what
first
I'm
of
gonna say.
all, like-
Absolutely fucking stupid. He's fucking wrong. And
I don't know. I mean, everybody has an opinion. I'm not trying to say that you're wrong
No.
and that you're stupid because I don't agree with you.
There's-
What I'm trying to say is that there's a way to have a conversation about it,
and that's not the fucking
and that
way.
was not the way. Like, we were just talking, and literally he was just like, wow, I didn't know you were such a scumbag piece of shit.
Yeah.
And I was like, holy shit, like, is this really happening?
Yeah, you're such a misogynist, Alex.
Yeah. I saved the whole conversation, but I was just like blown away, and I'm like, dude, the whole reason I've wanted a female co-host is so that we could have different perspectives on this show.
Right.
You thinking that only women get killed in horror movies, or that,
When statistics and research,
well, only 80s movies, slasher movies, I've heard. The guys from Exploding Heads, Dave Z, was stating that, did you know that in slasher movies more men die than women?
which they do,
Yeah, I think he's right on that. In slasher films, but
I can almost guarantee.
I don't think anybody knows, like, the full tally on every horror movie.
No, but I feel like if anyone would actually take the time to research that shit, and they take horror movies starting from let's say 1980 to 2010,
I don't know.
and you take that kind of a genre or that time span, and you take into consideration, I mean, I can think of a million fucking horror movies right now where I can tell you where there's more men that die than there are women.
Yeah.
And there's at least 20 to 5. 20 where I can give you specifically where more men die versus 5 where I can give you where more women die.
Well, and there's, you know, to try to make it a close up on this point, because I don't want to get too far into it. We'll save it for our fucking, my friend thinks I'm a misogynist episode. You fucking idiot.
He's not your friend.
It's like, dude, like, what do I gotta do? Like, just because I watch horror movies, really?
He's not your friend. Fuck
No, he
him.
definitely is not, and he's
Fuck him.
losing his mind.
Fuck you,
I
buddy.
was like, really? And then he blocked me on Facebook,
Yeah, I
so
love that shit.
I couldn't even finish the conversation. I'm like, really? You just made your mind up?
I'm going to say some super fucking ridiculous shit to you and then block you because I don't give a fuck about your opinion. I'm
Yeah,
like, okay.
I've realized how dark you really are.
Oh, cool, buddy.
Anyway, guys, what do
Cool.
you think? Do horror movies make you a misogynist, whether you're female or male? Because I've heard that more women pack the theaters at a fucking horror movie than men for
Statistically,
years.
they do.
Since fucking movies began.
They've done studies, people.
Yeah.
This is the thing. More women go to watch movies, horror movies specifically, in theaters than men. And
Yeah.
a lot of the times the chicks drag their fucking boyfriends to go and see them.
I don't know, like, and
Or
especially
dudes
nowadays.
drag their chicks to go and see them because they think they'll be able to fuck them afterwards.
we have a
but
lot of
whatever.
female listeners for our
We fucking
for our
do.
podcast, so
We really do, and I love that
a lot
shit.
of our biggest fans are female, and I fucking think that's awesome.
Yeah, some of the most interactive like people we have are women.
Right, and I always got worried about it too because like we have a dark sense of humor.
Oh,
and the
yeah.
fact that you came on and we can make jokes like this, makes me feel better because in a way it's like this is how the friends I know, like this is the interactions I have, and then it's not a different world. It's not me just being a misogynist. Like anyway. Long story short, this movie does do some of the 80s
sure.
tropes. It does
Absolutely.
have some of the nudity
an
things
80s
like
movie.
a women movie, like with nudity women and shit. But surprisingly, there's male junk in this. So ladies,
Yeah, the first fucking initial
ladies and men, sign up.
the first initial interaction that you get to any fucking nudity in this movie is a fucking straight up wiener
Yeah.
in your face. And it's a
Flip-flopping
pretty good
around.
fucking wiener, flippity flopping around, and it's all wet, and it's pretty glorious. It's not terrible. Yeah, that's your first. You get that, and they don't do that anymore.
Yeah, they do.
Well, they don't do
but
it as
mostly
much.
for, like, dramas
it's
and
still
shit.
women are more objectified in movies than men are, but
know. I'm
it's getting to
offended.
the point.
I'm offended by the penis in the movie.
More dicks. There needs to be more dicks. I have always said there needs to be more wieners. I don't see enough.
Well, to end on our thoughts about Slaughter High, I think it's a decent movie. I think it's probably more of a nostalgic film for a lot of people who used to or maybe grew up with it. I
Yeah.
don't think it's a bad movie if you're looking to kind of like find some little crazy little slasher. A lot of people like to collect slashers, and like weird ones like New Year's Evil or fucking like Graduation Day, or just like all the because there was a whole slew of them after Friday the 13th that came out, and if you're into collecting for that kind of stuff, you're definitely going to want to get this one. Is it the greatest? No, it's definitely not. It's kind of like watching Toxic Avenger,
Yeah.
but without the toxic stuff. It's just acid. Pretty much. And he doesn't go out and try to kill all of his friends for throwing them out a window into a barrel of toxic waste. He just tries to have sex with a blind girl. No big deal.
NBD. No big deal.
So what do you think, Brittany? Close it up. Close her up.
So fucking dumb. But I don't know. It was
I mean, if you had to score it, would you say like a 4?
probably.
Or less?
I'd probably give it a 4.5 out
Okay.
of 10. I mean, I'm not going to give it any more than
It's-
that.
it's
I
like-
feel like a 4.5 is reaching for me.
I think that's about right for me too. But I mean, I definitely will watch it. I'll definitely keep it.
No, I'd watch it again. Like, I absolutely would watch it again, especially with my husband and his fucking ridiculous goddamn commentary.
Yeah.
Like, I wish everybody could watch movies with him because it's great.
If anything, guys, like if you're gonna watch this movie, it's at least a what not to do when a killer's trying to kill you.
Yeah, it's
scenario.
a perfect guide to that.
Yeah, it's a
Don't
really
give
good
him
guide.
weapons.
Yeah, don't
Don't
fuck.
stop bashing his fucking head in. Don't go and have sex. Don't go take a fucking bath. Like it is a perfect like
Trope.
guide to what not to do. In case you were curious and you ever thought that doing any of that was a great idea, you're sorely fucking mistaken.
Yeah, and don't pick on nerds, by the way.
Don't ever fucking pick on nerds. They're gonna
We
be your
are
fucking
legion.
boss one day.
Yeah, we
It's
are
true
legion.
what they say. Us fucking nerds will defeat you in the end.
We are legion.
We are better than
But so if you had to pick one over the other, I'm gonna go ahead and just
Oh, funny man.
yeah, I'd probably say Funny Man too,
Just
just for
fucking
its
million times
creativity
over.
at the very least.
It's great. It's hilarious.
It's not hilarious.
It was hilarious.
It's unintentionally hilarious.
Oh well, yeah. I don't.
Well, I mean, it's
they
actually-
meant to make it intentionally funny, but it's,
But it's
not,
not.
as the intentional jokes fall flat when the unintentional jokes rise.
Right. For a funny movie called Funny Man, it certainly wasn't that funny. It's just creative and
It's still great.
It's still interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I would give that a solid like 6.5 out of 10.
If you like Bugs Bunny and Freddy Krueger and you put them
they've-
and have sex together,
Yeah,
you
they-
have Funny Man.
They fucked and they birthed Funny Man is exactly what happened.
Yeah, it really is.
And his cod piece alone is good enough to fucking check it out. It's hilarious.
Oh yeah, we forgot to mention he pisses on stuff.
Yeah, that was so funny.
Yeah, that was like, what the fuck?
I don't know. I love so much of it. It was great. His makeup is like makeup work for him. His character work is great. Like I don't know. Just as an artist, like they did a lot of really cool shit with that movie.
What do you guys think? Have you seen both of these movies? Do you love Slaughter High more than we do? Do you hate Funny Man? Do you love Funny Man? Shit, let us know in the comments below on any of our social media or on our website even.
We want to know how and why.
Yeah, I want to know what
Please
you
explain
think.
this to me.
Who wins in the Joker's Wild versus match of the century?
Celebrity death match.
So
I missed that shit.
we were tossing around some ideas as to what we're going to be watching next week, by the way, guys. I have a little quick funny story that I want to tell. Our friends over at the Horror Movie Night podcast, who are really cool. If you haven't already seen me post and tell you to follow them, you should. They have a really good listenership, and they've been really supportive of our podcast. Very, very cool individuals. So if you like what we do, you might like what they do as well.
You're gonna like it.
In fact, we're almost so much on the same page in some ways that we picked some of the same movies to watch on the same week.
Yeah. Completely unintentional, and it just happens at random.
It
and
does
it's weird.
happen, and you know, some people. It's weird because I've had like some people hit me up, and I don't know. It's the Grave Plot podcast always fucks with me, so I don't know if they're serious or not. But they we watched that already, and I'm like, and they made a point to point it out to me twice, and I'm like, I don't know if you're joking or not. Like, clearly, I didn't do this because of you,
Right.
I can't follow 100 podcasts, but
No.
Here's the thing. So Horror Movie Night put up an episode on The Prince of Darkness on Monday. We had already watched and recorded the episode days before, and we were going to be putting it up that Thursday. I think it was Monday or Tuesday that I found out anyway. So we were like, we'd already planned these movies for a long time, and then I was like, oh shit, I wasn't even mad, I was just supportive. I was like, oh shit, we did the same one. And then so then I was like telling Brittany just like a few days ago, I was like, hey, we should do like melty people movies. So we were gonna do Body Melt or Street Trash, and then do The Incredible Melting Man. Well, come to find out, they just posted their new fucking episode today, and guess what fucking movie they're doing? The Incredible fucking Melting Man. And I was like, what the fuck is going on? And
Get out of our brains.
I showed Brittany, I was like, what the fuck? After I told her what happened, because she didn't know. So then I wrote Matthew. I was like, hey, we must be on the same wavelength or something. I was like, I'm not even mad. I think it's fucking awesome.
It's hilarious.
But we're definitely not doing Incredible Melting Man, by the way.
We're not.
But if you guys want to check out their thing on Incredible Melting Man, I highly recommend you go check it.
They're awesome.
They'll already have a new episode out, but definitely check it out. Thank you so much for stopping by. We really greatly appreciate you stopping by this week. If you haven't already, check out Monday's episode if you missed it. We do a breakdown of grave plots for this fucking crazy movie called, oh God. Impetigo.
Alex
Whatever.
hates me right now.
About a moldy bunch of people that fucking spread shit all over the place. And it's also about how we get hate mail from people who actually have impetigo and hate on us for misrepresenting the disease. But anyway, guys, thanks so much for stopping by.
Stay weird, monsters.
You have been listening to Beyond the Void Horror Podcast. Tune in every Monday for a brand new episode.